Today we're going to look at another form of classifying bacteria, and that's the outside of them. Along the cell membrane, different bacteria have different ways of defense, and this is what we can use to further classify differences in certain bacteria. It's called the Gram stain and Gram test. Let's take a look. Prokaryote membrane. Remember, microbiologists use different ways to characterize bacteria. Shape is one way, another way is the cell membrane. Prokaryote cell membrane. Prokaryotes can be classified by their cell membrane as well. Remember, all bacteria have a cell membrane on the outside of a cell. This membrane contains proteins and allows for interaction with the cell and its environment. It's also made up of several lipid layers. Can have a thick coat surrounding the membrane. This is called gram-positive. Gram-positive bacteria are very tricky. They're characterized by having this very thick coat of peptidoglycan that's shown here that sits on top of the cell membrane. Can have a standard membrane with a toxic protein within, gram-negative. Their membrane is standard, but it contains something called an LPS, or a toxin. Gram-negative bacteria are different from gram-positive. If we compare the two, you'll notice that the one on the left is a gram-positive bacteria with that thick peptidoglycan coat. On the other side is that gram-negative bacteria where it's standard cell membrane, but is missing the coat. Gram-positive. The cell membrane is surrounded by a thick lipid coat called peptidoglycan. Gram-positive bacteria have a thick coat of peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan is a bunch of polymers linked together to form a very large web mesh. This allows it to be protected from viruses as well as other materials that might cause the bacteria some harm. The peptidoglycan acts to protect the bacteria. Viruses usually cannot attach to it, and white blood cells can't engulf it as there's no way for them to surround the bacteria. Tetanus is an example of a gram-positive bacteria. Your body cannot normally fight tetanus once it's injected, hence why you need to get a vaccine. It produces a toxin that can cause muscle spasm and continual contraction of the muscles, eventually leading to heart failure, lung failure, paralysis, or the snapping of one's back or neck due to muscle contractions. Gram-negative. The cell membrane appears thin and normal. In it, however, is an endotoxin protein. Gram-negative bacteria have a standard cell membrane and don't have the protection that gram-positives do. Instead, they have an endotoxin that acts as for protection. When the cell is killed, the endotoxin becomes loose, causes massive damage to the body or attacker. When a gram-negative bacteria is consumed by a white blood cell or damaged by another organism, it will then be destroyed and release the endotoxin. This can lead to severe toxic shock syndrome and cause massive damage to the cells with every bacteria that's destroyed, almost leading to sometimes fatal diseases. Example, Shigella. When a white blood cell kills Shigella, its toxin is released and causes massive damage to the gastrointestinal tract. The toxin then can lead to explosive diarrhea, vomiting, cramps, and flatulence for weeks. One such example is Shigella sonnei. When Shigella sonnei is consumed by white blood cells, the poison that it releases goes into the body and into the intestinal tract, causing severe gastrointestinal distress. How to tell types. A gram stain. A lab is determined to tell if a bacteria is gram-positive or gram-negative using staining techniques. Using a gram stain, you can determine if a bacteria is gram-positive or gram-negative, as peptidoglycan will hold on to a dye and not release it, and gram-negatives will lose it. This technique is very common in microbial practice. Today's question of the day is, what is swag? Swag stands for stuff we all get. It's a common term associated with items that are given out for free at conventions such as Comic-Con, GunCon, and etc., etc. People value swag in a sense of that to be able to use for items pertaining to status, if you will. Now, the issue of why is swag so important is simply a thing of humans have a knack for when they go somewhere, they typically have a need to be able to purchase something, such as if you go to a fair or a carnival, you end up buying a knick-knack or a toy that you'll probably never use and it may sit on a shelf as a decoration, but for some odd reason at the time you felt that you really needed it. It's because human beings are collective, impulsive collectors and tie memories to physical objects. So the more physical objects you have, the more memories there are. Hence the idea of swag representing a sense of elation or feel-good status with it. That's the question for the day.